Maybe we should wait till they get the HVAC fixed.
Good morning. It's September 6, 2016. I will call the Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't see anybody kneeling out there anyway.
You know, I was thinking the same thing, Charlie. Not in Wright County, Minnesota, that wouldn't happen. Okay, the minutes of 8:30:16.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Husum. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda. Any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I would just like, I don't know if Greg or Brian would maybe want to make a few comments on a ruling that we just got word of recently here, but the state auditor, I don't know, is Greg coming down, Brian, or?
He's got a possible conference call at 10, but I can comment briefly if you want to make it an item for consideration, perhaps.
Okay. Do you intend to be here for the whole meeting, Brian? Okay, we'll put an E item for consideration. State audit lawsuit, state auditor lawsuit. Anything else?
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delight. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do have one question under administration regarding the AMC annual conference. Did we also, have we approved us going to the meetings up in Alexandria?
AMC things, I think.
Policy committee?
Oh, policy committee meetings. I don't remember us doing
It's
that.
technically all approved at the start of the year on that one.
For the policy?
It's on that
Okay.
list of things, AMC policy committees, and technically this would be too, but I think it's on here kind of to remind folks, and particularly since we're canceling a meeting.
Right.
Correct.
Canceling the meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to get that verified. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Delight,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. 9:05, Virgil Hawkins with a very distinguished guest today.
Yes.
Good morning, Chairman Swatsky and Board of Commissioners. This morning, it's my honor and privilege to present a retirement plaque to Bill Cordell. I began working for Wright County 47 years ago. In the summer of 1969, Wright County maintenance staff did a lot of seal coating with their own staff. And so one of the maintenance staff told his son Bill to come to work with him to help seal coat the highways for the summer. Bill was 17 years old at the time, just graduated from high school, and took the summer job. Came back for 3 more summers. In 1972, County Engineer Don Nolting told Bill that he'd like to start up a sign truck to install and maintain highway signs. One day while Bill was working outside at the highway shop, and it's where Wright Lumber is now next to Perkins, that was the old highway shop, Don Nolting drove up to Bill and asked if he was interested in working on the sign truck. Bill said he was interested, and Don said the job was his on one condition, that he work at the county for at least 2 years. Bill has met that condition.
He's a man of his word.
Bill accepted, and this was the beginning of an outstanding career at the Wright County Highway Department that brings us here today. Bill worked in the sign truck for 17 years, maintaining and replacing over 15,000 highway signs that are on our system. And then in 1989, he applied for the position of Senior Highway Traffic Technician, where he's worked the last 27 years. Bill has accomplished the following significant achievements while in that role. Bill created a written sign maintenance policy for Wright County. Bill created a written rural streetlight policy for Wright County. Bill created a marked crosswalk policy for Wright County. Bill created a right-of-way ordinance for management of the utilities in our highway right-of-ways. And most recently, Bill went above and beyond the call of duty in his work with 18 townships in Wright County as part of the Township Signing Project in 2014, 2015. Bill offered individual training to township staff, an inspection and use of computerized maintenance program for the townships to efficiently maintain their new signs. It was this work that led to Bill's nomination as Employee of the Year for 2015. Bill has long been a safety advocate, serving in many different committees of safety over the years, also the Safe Communities Fatality Committee, and very active in the TZD, Toward Zero Death Initiative in the state. This brings us to today, where Bill is retiring after 47 years of faithful, dedicated service to the citizens of Wright County. It has indeed been a privilege to work with Bill over the past 21 years, and his contributions to our staff and the citizens of Wright County will be greatly missed. Please join me in applauding Bill as I present this retirement plaque to him.
Well, if you didn't get anything else out of Virgil's speech, at least you know I keep my word. I had thought about doing a speech, but at 44 years, I don't know how long that would take to go over that 44 years. So I just simply would like to say I really enjoyed my job. One of those guys that I didn't mind coming to work. So without anything else, I just want to thank the Wright County for employing me for all these years and all the friends that I've made over the years. And it's the people I work with that I will miss the most, so thank you.
All of them?
Well, most of them.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I do have one question for Bill.
Go ahead.
Since you were the sign guy for 17 years, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Out of curiosity, are any of those signs still standing?
I think there are. We used to, when we first started, we installed stop had signs on township roads leading up to county highways. I think there's a couple of those still out there. So.
They meet the current standards?
No.
I thought they should have been replaced in that big
Oh,
process.
they did get replaced.
Okay.
That's why I was just kind of curious. I knew that the standards get changed and you got to move them around, so that's why I was just curious. So, thought maybe there was one out there somewhere that you put in and it's still there today.
Maybe some of your slow children playing signs are still out there.
That could be.
Those never went up. I made sure about that. So.
Well, which is a good point, because over the years, putting signs up seems like a simple thing as far as something like, what a sign means and what it does. And I think you've done a good job of educating the board over the years of why maybe it's not in the best interest to put up signs in some areas when the public thinks it perhaps is. So I certainly appreciate that education over time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take a picture of it.
Thanks, Bill.
Can we get a picture for the newspaper with our 44-year man?
I think it's
Or it sounds like 44 plus some
Plus
temp
three.
for 47, so.
44 full-time, 3 years part-time.
They were just test driving him for a while to see if that would work out.
See if you were going to hang around for a while.
Where's Virgil?
You can almost get all the highway people.
You do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should get me. No.
All your.
Mr. Chair, I want to note that Lee is crying over here.
I can remember some 30 years ago, Bill officiating softball games I played in for a number of years.
You're out.
He always called my pitches illegal. Remember that? You said they were higher than the backstop.
So were you on the board at that time?
Not 30, no.
Maybe like a year or something on there, but pretty much, mostly probably before, but I don't know. When did you stop umping, Bill, do you remember?
About 50 years ago.
No.
Closer to 25.
Yeah, so I don't know, I might have been on the board a year or something, I can't remember.
Around
It
a
was
year, or about a year.
about a year, and then a few years before that, but probably a few years I remember you being out there, but,
So you got even with them a few times then?
okay, well, thanks for coming in, everybody.
Thank you.
And Bill, are we gonna see you on Thursday?
Maybe.
At the,
I'll be at work.
are you gonna be at the meeting? We got a meeting at 10.
Right.
Owners
Yeah,
Committee.
Owners Committee,
When do you officially retire then?
Thursday.
Thursday's
Thur- Thursday's your last day?
See, we set that meeting for Thursday to make sure he actually showed up on his last day.
44 years, 2 months, and 8 days.
Oh, wow.
But it was coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Probably one, Bill, are you the most senior employee here in the county today?
Linda Dixon's got it.
You believe so? Okay.
Between her and Linda Dixon, him and Linda Dixon would be the two oldest, longest tenured
Okay.
Linda's up in the attorney's office?
attorney's office.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
she's
she's
been
about
here
the
a
same.
long time.
Okay. Okay, here, let's see, looks like we're gonna roll down to items for consideration, committee of the whole meetings. It looks like the first one is just a notification that instead of going from 1 to 4, we're gonna go from 3 to 4, and then there's gonna be a meeting at 2:30 to 3, a closed session with the board. So you can change that 1 to 4 in your books to 2:30 to 4. Do you want a motion on this, Lee?
If I could, that would be helpful, and you are correct. Initially, we had planned that it would be 1 to 4. Based on the response we got from the union groups, only a couple of them wanted to come in between 3 and 4.
Yes.
So
we-
then,
I'll make a motion
sorry.
to approve the changes.
2 different meetings, maybe 2 different motions?
that would be good, yes.
I'll make a motion to reschedule 9:20 committee of the whole meeting to 3 to 4 PM.
Motion by Delyden,
I'll second that.
second by Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Post same sign. Motion carries unanimous, and then a closed session.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to have a negotiating committee of the whole, closed session on 9:20 at 2:30 PM to
I'll
discuss
second.
contract negotiations.
We'll second that.
Motion by Delyden, second by Hewsome. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Post same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, what's this next one we got here, Lee?
I think it'd be good following our meeting after we've heard from the unions on the 20th to kind of have a wrap-up meeting
Charlie, you want to take, I got to go get my calendar.
on the 27th to discuss, as we do have the unions they have all submitted their intent to negotiate. So I think it'd be good, based on what we hear on the 20th, to kind of formulate our strategy and move forward. So like to hold that on the 27th. Last meeting, we did schedule a committee of the whole earlier in the day to work on the courts RFP. That was a 11 o'clock, as I recall. So we were proposing that we would do this in the afternoon at 1:30, if that would work.
9:27. For some reason, I've already got it in my book.
At 11 o'clock.
That's a different one.
Well, I got
That's-
1:30,
That's,
NC Negotiation Committee of the Whole at 1:30. Did you tell us about this some other time, or?
We discussed it as being an option.
Okay,
we also
So you may
discussed
have-
RFP interviews that day before. It was on the potential days.
okay, so the 11 a.m. meeting, what is that?
That is the RFP
Is that
review.
still on then?
It is, correct.
Okay, 1:30 then. Is there a motion to set the 1:30 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Potter, second by Delight. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so the RFP for the courts is still at 11?
Correct.
Got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. C, scheduling court facility-related meetings. So I guess you're going to shore up these times, Lee, for us?
Yes, based on last meeting, we discussed with court administrator about getting some tour dates nailed down. She was able to make contact with Benton and Carver, and we had the date with Polk, of course, already standing. So just wanted to shore up the dates. The 13th, we'll go to Benton at 12:30. The 19th, we'll meet up at Polk County. And on the 22nd, we'll tour Carver County at 12:30. 27th, as we just discussed, at 11, we'll do the RFP initial review to select some finalists. The date I wanted to bring back today was we talked about the final day for interviews. I'm proposing October 13th. That would be the date that works the best for the courts. Hoping that would work with the commissioners here.
And what time would that be?
We could have some flexibility. I was thinking starting at about 10 in the morning.
Would we be able to do it early afternoon?
We could.
Might work
Would it-
better.
Well, I mean, we
How long
could,
it-
this could be a
Right.
easily a 4-hour meeting, I'm thinking, easily.
It could. It will depend, of course, on how
You know,
many
4 or
finalists
5,
we
depending
select.
if,
So more time would definitely be beneficial. But we can work with the schedule.
Mr. Chair, we're probably looking at a couple of morning sessions and a couple of afternoon sessions.
That would be the
Mr. Kelly?
easiest to accommodate. at
are
least
you
from
not
my
available that
perspective.
morning?
I may not be, might have a doctor appointment that day.
How about like even 11 a.m., like 11 to 4 or something like
I
that?
think
or-
I could do that. Should we do 11?
Would that work for the courts?
I believe it will.
What date was that again?
Kinda,
That'd be the 11th of October.
Oh, the
Excuse
11th?
me,
Yeah,
the 13th.
13th of October.
13th of October.
So starting, so should we say a window between 11 and 5?
It's probably good. Let's
Does
go
that
with
work for folks?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a regional active living, but I'm going to cancel it, so make sure it fits in everybody else's schedule. Mr. Torkelson will be there and cover us just fine, so will Brad.
So a meeting, potential meeting starting at 11 a.m. on Thursday, the 13th, Committee of the Whole. For motion,
I will make that motion.
I'll second that with a question.
okay? Motion by Houston, second by Potter. Mike?
Room 120?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I get that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimous. Schedule Committee of the Whole meeting, DNR restoration order. Lee, or Greg's taking that.
Mr. Chair, we're just looking to schedule a closed meeting just to discuss the DNR restoration order we received on ditch 31. I believe Leah thought maybe next Wednesday would work.
Yeah, given that next Wednesday is a committee day, I was thinking potentially the latter part of that morning.
Okay,
So are you available next Wednesday? We don't have a technology, but would you be able to come in?
That would be the,
14th.
14th.
I'm okay.
So you're thinking 11 a.m., Lee?
Work for everyone?
Mr. Chair, if we could have permission to also have Kurt Dieter attend the meeting, I think it might be helpful.
Now, is it appropriate or inappropriate to have any officials from Woodland Township here?
I would not do that because it would be an attorney-client meeting. That's closed for discussion of litigation purposes.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to have them. We're the ones that told them what to do.
Yeah, well, they're actually.
They also got,
served too.
they also got served, and technically they're the ones that did it, so.
Well, until we have a joint representation going forward, I don't think we should be doing anything like that, just because of the attorney-client privilege.
As there's motion to set a meeting at 11 a.m. on the 14th regarding this issue and to have Kurt Dieter present.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Potter, second by Delite. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And it looks like it's time to get back to the regular agenda here. Bob Hevola, good morning, Bob.
Morning, Board. The
first item on the agenda is to have you approve, remember I brought a resolution before you declaring our intent to participate in the CRO funding for septic systems? Today I have for you the actual participation in that. So I'm asking you to, Diane Sander from the CRO has submitted our application. The debt instruments are in place, so I'm asking you to approve and sign the copies of the resolution. This is the Minnesota CWP loan agreement. This is to be our third pot of money under that program. Remember, we also have the Ag BMP funding, so we'll actually have 4 funding sources.
Susan, do you have those originals? Okay, she's got them, Bob. Bob was asking me earlier, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Delisle, second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion?
Look at the resolution.
Yes, it is.
Resolution vote, Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Roll call vote carries unanimous.
Board, the second item on the agenda is to approve the SAS agreement with OpenGov. Board, if you remember, I presented this to you in the past. We referred it to the Technology Committee. We met with the Technology Committee, and then we were instructed from there to actually demo this to a department. We have demoed it to a couple departments. The one in particular was the Sheriff's Office. I believe an endorsement was sent to the commissioners from the Sheriff's Office. They see the benefit of this product. So, Board, what I have in front of you is a 5-year agreement with OpenGov. The reason the 5-year agreement is to capitalize on some savings if we negotiate a 5-year contract with them. Board, this is a product I believe will be something that we're going to use from here on out. I think it does do a good job of disseminating financial information. This is our tool that we could use to improve our transparency, not only to our departments, to you, and then also to the public.
Technology Committee members?
Did you get the reply from the
I did,
Sheriff's Office?
I did not see that, but
Oh, and I didn't forward it to you. I didn't even know, I didn't even look to see if your name was on there. Now, this is hosted in the cloud, right?
Yep. And again, the caveat here is that the non-financial data would be kind of held off until we could coordinate that with the IT department. But the financial data, that's all driven by my office, and we update that, and the frequency that will be beneficial.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Bob, funding source for this expenditure is
CIP?
CIP, okay? Just want to make sure that gets out there where they know where the money's coming from.
Yeah, but,
Isn't this an ongoing operational expense or not?
well, it should be actually in his budget because well, the CIP, this was not
Board, this is in the CIP.
last year.
Oh, go ahead. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Deline, go ahead.
Well, it wasn't in last year's CIP.
Are we this buying hardware or are we just buying software, or is this just the operational cost to continue on?
Board, this would be a software agreement. In essence, we are being given software, but I would envision after 5 years that we would incorporate this into our operational budgets.
But is it the same price after 5 years, or is it because it's,
Board, I did not
I'm just trying to
ask,
figure out what we're paying for here.
Board, I did not ask what the year 6 cost would be.
My guess it'll be at least that amount of $22,694.
Or it could be less if, depending on more counties come on board.
So is this something that belongs in the capital improvement, or just plain belongs in the operational budget? Is what I'm trying to figure out here.
Commissioners, we have other initiatives that are in the CIP. Commissioner Deline was right, this wasn't in last year's CIP, but it is in this year's CIP. This year, it's in there at $22,000.
But these other things that are in the CIP, Bob, are they like where we're buying for a bunch of software, and after that, the operational component of it just comes out of the particular budgets, or?
Well,
You understand what I'm
Yeah,
getting at here?
Commissioner Swatsky, EDMS projects, you'll see that they've been perpetually in CIP.
we just keep pursuing further and further into the realm of electronic document management systems. So, I mean, yes, it is a software.
See, to me, something shouldn't be in the CIP year after year after year if it's an ongoing expense. It's kind of, if it's for hardware or software that we purchase in over a 2-3 year thing, then that component of it should be, but, you know, the ongoing things, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what we're actually getting here. If we're buying software that then later on, that it's paid for in 5 years and then our
No.
expense goes down after that, or
No,
not? then?
this is all cloud-based. So, no, it will continue that amount forever. As long as we're dealing with OpenGov, this is what it's gonna be. It may go down some, but my guess is very minimal, if anything.
Then it should just be in the regular budget, wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
And Commissioners, I would roll it into the operation budget at the conclusion of the 5-year agreement or the year 4. So,
See, the part of the thing is it's mostly auditor's office that's gonna utilize it. I mean, it will benefit some of the other departments, but the majority of its use is in the auditor's office. Which is why I kind of agree with you, Pat, about it being in the CIP. CIP was more for things that were for the whole, but then also for those things to make sure that somebody wasn't buying something at the end of the year and then we wouldn't get to it for another 3-4 years or something to that effect, which has happened in the past.
Commissioners, if I can add, you know, OpenGov is a tool that we will use to empower the departments. I don't use this to present my own financial data. This is giving the information to the departments in a usable format. This is giving you the information. This is giving the public. This isn't just for my office.
Now, just to step back a bit, when we had the discussion here about 2-3 months ago, I think ultimately we sent it to the Technology Committee. Has the Technology Committee made a recommendation?
It came back to the technology, Adam's here. It came back to the Technology Committee.
No, it never came back to the Technology Committee. The committee had suggested that it be vetted by a couple of other departments. The Sheriff's Department in particular has a difficult time dealing with our software. I forget what it's called, to decipher their information. And this was shown to them to see if this would make life easier and less time involved to try and decipher some of those things. What is our software that everybody uses?
It's IFS.
IFS.
Right. Lindsay and I went out there and met with the sheriff and his admin staff. And I believe what we demonstrated to them, here, go ahead.
We had showed them how we can basically disperse the IFS detail, the summary revenue and expenditure reports more frequently so that they can get their data and analyze it more readily.
And I did get an email back from Captain Hoffman saying that it was much easier to utilize, but it never did go back to the Technology Committee.
Or the other thing that we did for them, and I envision us doing this for every department, as well as for you, is creating dashboards of those particular items in which you want to kind of keep on top of. They have different people at the sheriff's office in charge of the boat and water grant. They have different people in charge of overtime administration. So creating dashboards for them to drill it right into their information, they thought that was very useful. So.
The only concern I have is doing this for 5 years. I would prefer just to do it for a couple of years, just to make sure this is going to get utilized. For 5 years, if all of a sudden in 3 years something else changes or
IFS comes up with a better,
well, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I don't know. I have a concern for a 5-year up front. How long has OpenGov been around anyway? How long has Anoka been using it?
Chair, Commissioners, I believe that they've been using it for 3 years now.
You know what the fees is? How much is Anoka paying for fees? Do you have an idea?
Commissioners, I believe that they have both products. I think they have the forward-facing product that we're looking at, plus I believe they also purchase the budget process.
Yeah, my other concern is that part of this also is a beta project, meaning that it hasn't been completely done yet either.
Right, Commissioners Delight, if you're referring to the projections, they did disclose that as in beta. And for example, when we hit October and November, and I can show you how we're doing financially, there's also algorithms that kind of predict how that would project out into December. That's something that they're currently working on. I saw the demonstration of it, and I thought that was pretty impressive. When I can say, hey, it looks like we're going to do very well this year, or we do have concerns here.
So what is this deployment fee for the first year?
Commissioners, deployment would be the actual, they've done an awful lot to get us set up. Again, in the proof of concept, I've been kicking the tires on it. The deployment would be actually tweaking it to meet Wright County's expectations. It'd be the training.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Delight, you seem to be confused on this whole issue, and you're in the technology committee. That's what's perplexing here. I thought this was kind of vetted out already.
Well, it's not that I'm confused, I'm just,
Okay, you seem to have a lot of concerns.
Unsure?
I just have a
Unsure, a
hard.
better word?
Yeah, actually, what I prefer is to send it back to the technology committee and to see if we can get, Sarah Wise to maybe be at that next meeting to have additional conversations with, and I don't know.
Okay, Mr. Chair, with that being said, it appears that it needs to be sent back to the technology committee for further vetting to make sure we get all these questions answered. With that, I'll make the motion to send it to technology committee.
Motion by Potter,
I'll second that.
second by Houston. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Right here, Bob.
I thought that was done already.
Thank you. Greg Kreiser, Assistant County Attorney. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, I'm here. The board heading's kind of a little inaccurate. We're not abating property tax assessments. We're instead, all the abatements I've done this year, we're trying to assess. So I need to have a public hearing to do that. I suggested October 11th. I would actually like to push that back a week just for some notice provisions of trying to get some of the documents finalized. So looking at October 18th at 9:30, if that works.
Okay, part of the county board meeting, and then is what you're
That's
looking at
correct.
here.
What again, what is this for?
For all of the junk cleanups we've done, all the property
Oh,
abatements we've done, I need to assess those costs back onto the property rolls.
How many do we got there? We've got, I'm talking like the Gutnick property, for example?
The Gutnick property, have one in South Haven that we did.
Yeah, stuff that's out at the shed out there now.
Yeah, that's,
Which, I was over at the compost facility a week or so ago, dropping off some steel from a storm damage at my mom's property, and I seen that they were loading up vehicles and taking them away, so.
yes, they were.
I presume they're all gone by now.
They should be. I believe so.
So the status of the Gutnick property is it's clean and
Vehicles have
orderly
been
at this time?
removed. The vehicles have been removed from the Gutnick property. I believe LaPlante just has a few things to finish up. With the weather, I think they're hoping it'd be done early this week, but with the weather and the rain we have here, I don't know if they can get the dumpsters out of there right now and finish it up. It's pretty wet. There's a low spot in the middle out there that gets really wet.
Process in general go fairly well?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Do we have a total bill yet from them?
Not from LaPlante. Haven't received a final invoice from them.
No, we'll have that information for this public hearing, correct?
Yeah, that's
The
why I
total
wanted to
amount.
push it back another week, just to make sure I have the time.
Okay, is there a motion to set the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Delyden,
And, Mr. Chair, that's for the 11th.
No,
18th at
October
9:30.
18th at 9:30.
I will second that motion.
second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Adam Tagaro. Morning, Adam.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'd like to, the first item here is to introduce a new senior developer, Tim Lorsung, to the county board. Tim, why don't you come on up? Tim has over 20 years of development experience that he's bringing to us, and previously was at the Prudential, and we are happy to have him on board, and I figured I'd let him introduce himself.
Great. Welcome.
Morning.
Welcome, morning.
Has Adam taught you the secret handshake yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Haven't been
Okay, well, that'll be probably coming up this afternoon.
Very complex and will take a lot of time.
Charlie, your standard question?
Where are you living now?
Maple Lake, but north of Silver Creek,
Probably in Pats.
Carina Township.
Are you from this area originally?
New Hope in the
Okay.
in Twin Cities, so kinda. Just moving further away.
How long have you been living now? You just move up here?
2002, I bought a place on a lake, Indian Lake.
Oh, Indian Lake.
Yeah,
Where at?
Carina
We've got
Township.
relatives out there.
on Grover Avenue,
My folks live.
on that street.
Yep.
What's the name?
The Leiden, it's the very last house on the left. There's one on the very end of the street, but theirs is the very last one
Okay.
on the left.
Okay. Yeah, I don't get around too much, work on the house a lot. They all will tell you that.
Well, you're the ones my folks make complaining about that, okay.
Yeah.
So 2002, you've been living out there?
Yep.
Wow. It's a nice little lake, quiet.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Little high right now.
Oh, my, it's high. It's the highest I've ever seen.
Yeah, Dad said the same thing.
Yeah.
And they've lived down it for quite a while. Well, welcome to working for the Wright County. You've
Thank
lived in
you.
the Wright County, now you get to work in the Wright
Yeah,
County.
thank you. I'm excited, too.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Tim.
Welcome aboard.
My second item, Commissioners, is the
Oh, have you told him that he's only got a year to figure out on how to improve things? And
Yep,
after
he's
that-
got 1 year to make it all work out.
Okay.
I'll explain we were kidding after we get out. The second item we have today, the Minnesota IT Cybersecurity Monitoring Grant Memorandum. The Department of Homeland Security has a grant that the state of Minnesota is using to increase cybersecurity. This is a program that they are using in multiple counties now, and what the grant provides for is fully funded firewalls plus intrusion prevention monitoring directly with the state. And we would like to get in on this while it's available. And essentially what the memorandum is of understanding that we're asking the board to sign today is to allow us to move forward with that. And what they would put in place would be a 3-year agreement, the first 2 years fully funded by the state. So that means new hardware, the entire monitoring service, and the configuration, installation, and everything that's installed. And on the 3rd year, we would take over financial responsibility for the maintenance of those firewalls, which is something we currently do right now. And our existing firewalls are end of life in 2018. So this is fairly timely for us. And then the monitoring service for the network intrusion prevention would be roughly $2,500 annually. So it's 10% of our annual internet service fee. What the network intrusion prevention monitoring service will do is allow the state to get our firewall logs in almost real time. So what I've been told is probably within 3 minutes they can know if we're being hacked. And the state is doing this because this is also their network that they run. And so what they are trying to do is be more proactive about this. So this adds an additional layer of security for the county. It allows us to get some brand new equipment, which we are due up for anyway. And then the first 2 years are fully funded by the state through this grant.
So this would provide greater security, for example, than someone would have at their home computer.
Not necessarily. This would be for our internal network here. So if we have a hacker group out of another country, for instance, and they start trying to do some sort of attack on our firewall, the network intrusion prevention is going to constantly monitor and alert the state to that. And it'll have some preventative measures built into the system.
So they won't be able to get into Charlie's emails and
We hope
embarrass
not.
him or anything?
As long as he doesn't answer that phishing email and
Oh, okay,
put his password in there.
But that would only apply to his emails here at the government center, not his emails at home, right?
Correct, correct.
So in other words, you wouldn't recommend a public official have confidential emails on their home personal server, is what
It
you're
would be
saying?
ill-advised to do as such.
Okay.
And if it was top
The lesson
secret,
to be learned there.
and if it was top secret or secret classified information, it would probably even be illegal, right?
It very well could be criminal charges. I have no idea.
You might go to prison for something like
This
that,
seems
I would
very
guess.
topical.
For the White House.
We're not referring to anything in particular in this question, line of questioning.
It's hypothetical.
In a perfect world, one would not want a government official to use their own separate system.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that Charlie's protected.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of an understanding and going after the cybersecurity grant.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Oh, may I make one last comment? So the next thing that would come with this would be an agreement that I would then bring to the Technology Committee for approval.
Great.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sonny Hess, HR Director. Good morning, Sonny.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here today. I met with Oaks, Inc., who is our broker for disability and life insurance, on August 25th. During that meeting, we were presented with information regarding our 2017 renewal rates for short and long-term disability. Currently, we use Assurant. Assurant provided renewal rates for short-term disability with no change to the premium for core coverage and a 33% increase in premiums for the voluntary buy-up coverage. For long-term disability, they issued a 24% increase in the core coverage and no change in the voluntary buy-up coverage. We also were presented renewal rates from Madison National. Madison National is Oak's pool carrier, or their primary carrier. A couple years ago, they switched from Assurant to Madison National. At that time, we made the choice not to switch to Madison National because we had a rate guarantee with Assurant. However, we're finding now for 2017, we could see a 17% decrease in premiums for the core coverage and no increase in premiums for the voluntary buy-up coverage for short-term disability. And for long-term disability, we could see a 15% decrease in the core coverage, 14% decrease in the voluntary buy-up coverage. Exact same coverage under Madison National as we have with Assurant right now. So I am proposing changing carriers for 2017 from Assurant to Madison National.
I will make that motion unless you have discussion, questions.
Go ahead with discussion.
Ratings. I know insurance companies have ratings, ABAS, AAA, or that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't have that information with me. I do know that I have experience working with Madison National and at my previous employer. Never had any issues dealing with them.
Motion by Commissioner Houston to approve.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Delyden. Any further discussion? Thanks, Sonny, for bringing us good news. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Hey, can you do that for the health insurance too?
I've seen it happen a couple times over the years, or a few times.
Could happen.
State auditor lawsuit against Wright, Becker, and Ramsey. How's that going for Ms. Otto?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold thing going here. We got good news on Friday, late on Friday, actually, after business hours, I believe. The Ramsey County District Court issued its decision in the lawsuit involving the state auditor and as you said, 3 counties. Our attorney, Scott Anderson, characterized it as an almost complete victory for the counties. The court did make a finding that auditing counties is a core function of the state auditor's office.
Which I don't think anybody ever argued with.
Well, we did argue at court that it was not a core function, at least in terms of the Constitution setting it out as such. And in any event, the court decided that they could still exercise their core function under the new statute because they do have the ability to supervise the audits of counties, even if we have our audit done by a private audit firm. And a couple of other findings that the court made were very important, and that is that the new statute does not violate the separation of powers clause in the Constitution, which means that, you know, the state legislature was not taking away a power of a constitutional office, the state auditor. It was simply modifying them, which is allowed. And then also the court found that the new law did not violate that single subject clause of the Constitution where, you know, legislative bills are supposed to be a single subject. In this case, the single subject, even though it was a fairly wide-ranging bill, it was a state government operations bill. And the court felt that, you know, the activities of the state auditor's office vis-a-vis how that affects counties is an appropriate subject for state government operations. So it was a 17-page decision. I think the link was forwarded to you. If you haven't seen the decision yet, we can certainly scan it in and send it to you. But it's a good decision in terms of Wright County and Becker County and many other counties.
Do we know at this time how much money Wright and Becker have spent on defending ourselves on this case?
Mr. Chair, the last invoice I got just indicated the amounts currently due, and I didn't total them up, so I could certainly advise the board of that. My guess would be that Wright County spent over $25,000. That would be Wright and Becker both. I mean, in other words, probably over $50,000 between the two counties.
Sure.
And, Mr. Chair, Brian, do you have any idea how much our state auditor, Becky Otto, spent on this?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I do not.
It had to be a few $100,000 because I think it was $200,000 as of about 6 months ago, wasn't it?
So over
And
$200,000.
And Mr. Chair, that would be public information too, so we could.
It is.
That was before I mean, that was literally at the initiation of the lawsuit. I think it was $200,000. So if she's got the same amount of it into the court, well, you know, I think it's fair to say that there's easily been $300,000 of taxpayer money wasted on this. And we're right back where we started.
Right.
With the same rights we had before. We just had to spend all this money to get them, but.
Mr. Chair, just one other comment that the state auditor would have the ability to ask the Minnesota Supreme Court for a review of this. It's not an automatic review. In other words, she would have to request review, and the state Supreme Court can say, no, we don't deem this as important enough to review, and so it's not a guaranteed appeal.
And then one other question. Is there any chance that we would be able to get our legal expenses reimbursed?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, not likely. Usually that's in cases of bad faith or that type of thing.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's where I was going with.
I would say that in any case where there's legal questions, you know, in other words, what does this law mean, and how does the Constitution affect the law, whether or not it's constitutional? Generally, those types of things are not bad faith lawsuits.
And Mr. Chair, Brian, we ended up, in essence, defending a state law. I mean, she could have just as well said just Wright County, and then we could have incurred all of the legal expenses to do this.
Correct.
And if we would not have defended the law, it's possible that it could have gotten overturned. It doesn't seem right. I mean, why wouldn't this go against the legislature? Why do they pick out a county or two or three and have them incur this expense without getting reimbursed somehow? It just doesn't, it seems so unfair to
Mr. Chair,
me as a Wright County resident.
Commissioner Burrell, I'm not intimately familiar with lawsuits that challenge state legislation, but here the counties were the parties that were affected by the by the law. And for that reason, I think we were made a party. I have seen cases where the legislators, not the legislature, but individual legislators or a group of individual legislators will intervene in a lawsuit like this. For whatever reason, that didn't happen here.
Election year.
And then why would they name, we never did find out why we were named or Becker, And why was Ramsey named when they actually use the state auditor all the time already?
Mr.
Been
Chair,
here.
we've,
didn't
and
sign
Commissioner
it.
Burrell, we've kind of surmised that Ramsey County was made a party so that it could be venued in Ramsey County, so the case could be venued in Ramsey.
From what I read, though, they didn't sign a 3-year contract, like, which is
Correct.
one of the things that they were asking.
Correct. Ramsey County said, we're fine with the state auditor service. We will continue to use them for the time being, but we want to leave our options open.
That might have been intentional. They maybe didn't sign it to give her the ability to sue them and have the
And to get
court
it
in
there.
St. Paul. We don't know, but.
And then did Ramsey County actually robustly participate in the defense of
No.
this? They basically rolled over.
Ramsey County showed up for hearings, but generally took no position.
So it's almost like they could have been in cahoots, but we can't prove that.
It really doesn't matter.
I think it's fair to say that if Rebecca Otto and any of the 5 Ramsey County commissioners were to see someone, they know each other, they know who they are, there's probably some sort of a relationship there that does not exist between us and Ms. Otto.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
MCIT, why didn't they help us pay for this?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Delighten, this fell under an exclusion, I guess, in that there were no dollar damages. Usually, just about everything that MCIT, other than, they do have that rider for the planning and zoning decisions, that type of thing, where they will step in and defend the county, but virtually everything else they defend is where people are asking the county for money for one reason or another. And legal issues like this, we've had other cases where it's a legal issue where we've had to defend the county ourselves, and usually our office will do that, but it was a good decision the board made here to get outside counsel involved, definitely.
One more, Mr.
Charlie.
Chair. The other thing, as far as, we're speaking for the taxpayers in Wright County here, even though this benefited 87 other counties, or a great number of them that would want to do an outside audit, so we kind of carried the water for a lot of counties, Becker and us did. But this, I want to point out, was an interest to Wright County alone. Having the state auditor do our audit this year and next year is probably going to cost us $20,000+ more than it would have with an outside audit firm like Clifton Larson Allen.
In a couple of years, we'll have our money back
We'll
in
have
savings.
that's what my point is, I guess. So this was not wasted money, even though we may or may not ever see anything from the other counties unless they pass the hat around and take up a collection for Becker. Hey, they talked about doing it up at Wilmer.
Yeah.
Well,
There were some counties that felt that
They were unjustly charged.
that it was not a fair thing, so.
cumulatively, there will be hundreds of thousands of dollars saved annually to the taxpayers
Of Minnesota.
by the various property taxpayers in the state. So, I mean, we had to kind of foot the bill, and
Carry
we'll
the
get our
water,
money back in 2 years. Others will save right off the bat.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying, Charlie. It would have been fairer if if everybody would have thrown in $1,000 instead of us each throwing in 25,000 apiece. Or, with the 50 counties that were not going with her, or if you just
Right.
did all the counties, it'd be closer to 500. But there has been cases over history that I can remember where there's been some precedent-setting cases that we haven't been involved in, and other counties have fought them, and we have either benefited from their doing that or been disadvantaged by them losing a case too. So, I mean, it's, sometimes unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
But
But
I
it
want to
would've
point
been nice
that
if
out to
others
the
would've been in
residents
there.
of Wright County, though, even without the participation of the other counties or MCIT or AMC, we will directly benefit from this, and it won't take probably, like I say, a couple, 3 years, and we'll have our payback on it, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, and I don't know.
Really good news, though, so.
If Ms. Otto would like to come out and apologize, we'd be happy to have her here at one of our board meetings. I think, is that a fair statement?
I think that would be appropriate.
You can make that offer out there, Brian, okay?
Don't hold your breath.
Advisory committees, advisory board updates. Commissioner Hewsom.
I really don't have any official advisory committee. Enjoyed going to the Saints game on Sunday.
Better than the Twins games.
Mike?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. August 31st, we had a Central Minnesota Quad County SEDS meeting. Set up with we've renewed that from being dormant for a while. And we're going through the hiring process, the development process, the timing of the county billing, which should be for 2017, not this year from what I've got it out of that. And we did a future meeting scheduled. Just for the public's information, what is a SEDS? A SEDS stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And if you have and Commissioner Swatsky would be more aware of this, he's been on this before. If you have one of these, then you're eligible for EDA assistance on Public Works Economic Adjustment Assistance Programs, and it's a prerequisite for designation EDA and Economic Development Districts. So it is a benefit to Wright County, and hopefully we'll be able to utilize this. I want to just give a quick thanks to Robert Voss. He's the East Region 7E district. He helped us get this back in the limelight and get it going. So I want to thank him for helping us get going. And the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training were gracious enough to house this thing and did a lot of in-kind work. Thanks to Barb Chafee and her crew for helping that. The first couple years we put in money, and after that it'll be taken over by Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. Basically, the first 3 years we have counties, Excel, and we put in an amount of $50,000 between all of us, which equates into Wright County be about $8,200 a year for 3 years. And I'm looking forward to having this take off and see if we can benefit from this in Wright County. Mr. Chair, you were part of this before.
Yeah, it was a while. Like I say, we struggled to find a good fit for it, and I think in the end, the location where it's going to be and in the process, I think really is about as good as any idea anybody could have came up with. Really do. It minimizes the bureaucracy by doing it that way.
And I think it's a good fit with Central Minnesota Jobs. It's a good fit in there too. So with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Solar Committee has completed their work
You did.
last Friday.
Good.
I think in the end, Charlie, I asked the group, everybody maybe does everybody here think we've got a much improved product, even though you don't agree with every minute detail, and everybody agreed that it was a much improved product? Yep. Even though there might have been some small details that some people would have liked slightly different.
Well, then it has to be a good one.
Yeah.
If everybody was unhappy with it, then it had to be a good one.
Well, the membership there was so diverse, it would have been almost impossible for everybody to agree on every single thing.
Oh, I
like
can
I say,
imagine.
it's going to work out for
And
folks.
Mr. Chair, if I would interject, I think Greg Kreiser, it really helped with one of the biggest things was making the breakthrough where the townships can have a more restrictive ordinance. So that was the big thing, because we had trouble in a couple of townships, other ones not, and it allows them to kind of personalize it a little bit for their townships.
That and the developers agreement, I think, were really the two big
Yeah,
components. Yeah. So now, after the planning commission approves a CUP, I believe to the Wright County Board, the Wright County Board will actually sign a developers agreement along with the applicants, basically saying you need to do all these things, and if you don't, there's a letter of credit at the bank, and the county's gonna go over there, and they're gonna take the money, and they're gonna do what you didn't do. So I think that is kind of, that's kind of the safety net there.
Fail safe.
And yeah, Greg, that was Greg's concept that came up with that, but Greg Kreiser, Sean Riley, and Stacy Marquette, all three of them just did a real nice job of what their role was and keeping us on task and moving us forward. And
So what is the next step then?
the planning commission is going to have a workshop with it and kind of talk through it.
And then
It's
it
going to
goes
go
to
out
the
to the townships to get their input back. And then ultimately, after the input from the townships, I think the planning commission has an official public hearing, and then it comes back here. It may or may not meet the 6-month deadline. It will literally be within days. There's a possibility we may have to extend it by a week or two or something like that. But we're right there in the ballpark.
Because we want to make sure that there's a full month for the townships to review, because they They meet,
Yeah.
we have some townships meet early in the month, some meet late in the month.
And I presume the cities probably get notified of that too and have a chance to give input also, I'm guessing. So anyhow, that occurred, and I had to sign a couple bills over at River Rider last week, and when I got there, and I think you've got it in front of you here,
Well, yeah, I was
there was that document was there. Now, the attorney, I asked, the attorney wasn't in, so I couldn't, the gal at the desk said, oh, I'm supposed to give you this here. So I got that kind of with no real explanation, but I mean, to some extent, it's self-explanatory, but I don't believe it's something we need to act on immediately. I think it's more something that's kind of a little bit of prep work, so 3 or 4 weeks from now, when we finally hear back from the state that this thing is wrapped up, we don't have to wait another month to develop that, is I believe. But I gotta talk to Shelley and verify if he wants us to do anything with that at this time. I think not, but I did get it out to everybody, so they just had a chance to read through it.
Yeah, I was curious about it. I was just wondering, because I mean, it's something that we did kind of do way back when.
I don't think we've done a resolution like that ourselves.
I thought we did something.
Well, I could be wrong, and I you know what, I literally only browsed through that, I haven't read all that, like I told Mike earlier today, I said, you know, that, for example, I mean, I know there's at least one paragraph in there that I kind of would, I'd change the way it was stated, because I don't think it's accurate necessarily, but we have it now, and if anybody has any questions, I guess, I presume the board will have to approve that, right? That's for each of the two boards to approve, or is that for actually the River
Well,
Rider
it
board?
looks like
to
the
approve?
River Rider board, and then it'll go to each of the county
Okay,
boards.
like I say, I haven't spent much time, I just got it back to you guys, but again, I didn't get any explanation with it, I just kind of got it handed to me, so I brought it back.
So
That's
then-
all I got.
Then we just gotta wait for
I'll shoot Shelley an email and ask him,
the state regarding the money then, right? Because we haven't received that, the funds yet, right?
well, we have the money. The money is ours. It's in our possession.
Oh, that's right.
The state just, supposedly they were, they have a chance to look at our audit, and the last we had heard that, and I think I sent this email out to folks, I forwarded it out, but we had heard that the state maybe said there might have been some minor discrepancies relative to, you guys remember something like that?
Yeah, just.
Something like that, and we were kind of waiting on that, but generally things look good, but I don't know, it's been a long time now since we've passed that over to them. I think it's literally been since February or something. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah,
February
it's
sounds
been a
right.
long time.
Well, I mean, so now, it dissolved was it July 1st of 2014, right?
Well, they ceased
July
operations.
1st is when we stopped operations.
Operation.
Yeah.
So
Been a
over
while.
2 years, 2 years, couple months, 2.5 years,
Yeah.
probably by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's taken much longer than it certainly should have, one would have expected, but,
Well,
Here we are.
they could have just, what drew it out a long time too was the state wanted us to do a private audit, and then it didn't include the 6 months from the January to July.
well, the board
And then
kind
they
of was,
went back-
we didn't really realize that. We thought we were getting an audit up until the end,
To
and
the
what we
end.
found out is that the state only required it to be for that one period of time, and it's like, well, geez, let's just do it through the last 6 months. So then we kind of went back and took another couple months from the wrap up the last 6 months, and we were just under the assumption that's what it was off the bat, and then, like I said, there was a few different things. I mean, part of it is there's some things that just take time, because you gotta wait for
Bills to come in.
for some of these unemployment things and some of that
Right.
stuff, because if you close it up too soon, then you're just gonna be sending letters to the counties asking them to send you checks and this and that, and
Is anybody on unemployment yet? Are we still paying unemployment?
I think that's long seized, yeah.
Isn't it 18 months is the longest? Or?
Well, what happens is somebody could have gotten a job
Somewhere else. and
without
got
taking
unemployed, yeah.
unemployment, got a job right after River Rider, then working for so long, if they would get laid off from that company, River Rider would pay part of the unemployment, and that, you have to cross that threshold before you come back and say, okay, there's gonna be no more claims on the River Rider account.
And I don't think the director, the last person to be employed, I don't think he actually ever applied for it,
Maybe not.
is my understanding. So that kind of shortened up the timetable too, but, see, when I went, I had the couple of bills I had to pay, that's where I went over there, and one of them was for basically the attorney's time for creating this document, and then there was a small bill, there must have been some life insurance policy on the director that didn't get canceled or some darn thing, and there was like a bill for, I think, for $80 or something like that. for that, so hopefully that's resolved now too, so we shouldn't have anything out there except maybe one more small claim from the attorney, I'm hoping, so.
And, Mr. Chair, I don't think this takes a motion, but we should probably have our county attorney review this. as
Well,
well.
yeah, Brian, you probably haven't seen that, you should get that, yeah, I gave it to Lee and asked him to forward it to the board members, so yeah, we should get that to Brian, too. And I don't, maybe you wanna call Shelley, maybe it's better if you call him and ask him what, or I can send him an email, he's the attorney that's working for us, and see what his plan is with that.
He's working for himself.
And I can't remember, I know the last time we met, there was debate whether we'd have one more meeting or not, then we were gonna try not to have one if we didn't have to, but I don't know if that will require it or not.
Well, I would think we'd have to meet to approve that.
By the looks of it,
Well,
everything
I
says.
At one point in time, we had talked about not meeting again, but maybe we'll have to meet to
To do
do that
that.
if it's signed by that board.
I don't have anything other than that.
And Mr. Chair, last Thursday, had a Central Minnesota Council on Aging up in St. Cloud, and basically, we went over our Clifton Larson Allen audit, and it was a no-change audit, so everything was good there. And then later in that day, I met down in Delano at the Highway 12 Safety Coalition, and they are working, I don't know if you've ever driven on Highway 12 lately, but you guys don't, but they're widening some shoulders on some certain turn lanes by 90 or 92 down there, so the construction's going on at night. They close one lane at night and then open it up during the day, so that work is going on. The other thing that I thought was really, I never fail to get impressed by Claudia Dumont. Is it Dumont? or-
Dumont.
Yes.
Dumont. She works for MnDOT out in District 3.
District 3, our district. Correct.
But it's like, everything that I bring up, she is a worker. But when they did that continuous T, they call it, the intersection at Highway 25 and 12, the traffic is allowed to drive straight from the west to the east without interference. Well, people would see a red arrow to stop the turn, and people were putting their brakes on. So
Yeah, it's
I
kinda
mentioned to her, I said, maybe it would be nice if we could just put a green arrow up there. Well, within 2 weeks, there's 2 green arrows up so that you can continue through. And then I brought it up that we have such trouble with the intersection at Dassel-Cokato School, when school is in session, to try to get out onto Highway 12 and cars and everything. It's a terrible situation. And I thought about that, and I asked her, I said, would that be a situation where we could put one of those intersections? If you haven't been down to see it, it's almost worth driving down to check that intersection out. It's totally innovative. I don't know of another one. I have not seen one in the country like it. But, so anyways, at first she said, well, I don't know if it would work there or not. But she came down last Thursday and she said that they're doing a study on it and to see if it would be feasible. I'm like, wow, it's just nice to see that she takes what people are saying seriously, and like I said, I just totally get impressed by her every time I talk with her, so. She works for MnDOT.
Yeah, I've always felt we've had very outstanding people in the mid-dot construction area in our district. I mean, there's a few others too that they've been really good and really fair to us, I feel.
And then one other thing with the Highway 12 Safety Coalition, they decided to meet every other month now instead of every month. We kind of had such a limited agenda, it seemed like, and I think that was a good idea, so. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. There being no further business, we are adjourned at 10:10 a.m.